Today we reach the climax of the story, the peak of a story that, well, we haven't been reading. It's like coming into a room, other people are watching a movie, and you're like, what's going on? Can you catch me up? What's happening? Can you tell that something is a little different today? You've got commitment cards on your pew with a pin. It's not a pew, right? It's our flexible seating chairs, right? Things just seem a little off. And you've got this commitment card, and you might be like I was in middle school. Is this going to be on the test? Do we really need to know this? Isn't that something that starts in middle school, it carries on through college and adulthood? Tell me what the importance of this is. What's the point? Why are we doing this? Today is a big day. It's a day that's been planned for a very long time. You see these shirts everywhere, and you just kind of enter and you feel that there's an energy going on. As I've thought about this, I've wondered about someone's entry into Harry Potter land at Universal Studios. You go in there for the first time, and maybe you've never read the book, and people are just so excited, and you're like, what exactly is going on? Or you go to Star Wars World at Disneyland or Disney World, and you think, okay, yeah, I haven't seen it in the movies. I don't really get it. I don't know what's going on. If that's you today, perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. We wanted to interrupt you, to disrupt you of what's norm and what's usual and what's familiar, for things to shake up a little bit. And this is one of those days. You and I both know about interruptions. We were not expecting to be engaged in a war. We were not expecting for gas prices to go up or prices in general to go up. We were not expecting to hear about the deaths of world leaders and places. And yet, we carry on, right? You and I are able to carry on because we can. We don't have to run in fear. We're not trying to get cell signal, not trying to figure out where our families are at, and yet there's something that's happening that's bigger than us. So what is it? What is InterrUPt? What is it that we're about? This is probably the most significant point in our 123-year history. To come to this moment where we're asking for such a large sum of money, $4 million is no small amount of money, because we need to do a bunch of repairs and renovations and upgrades, things that we've been putting off for years, if not decades. That's the upgrade portion of this. And yet, as much as we want to do those things, for 1 second, we don't want to sacrifice the importance of our ministry, of following Jesus, of carrying forward everything that's important about helping people disrupt their lives. And yet, it's a moment where all of us are thinking about giving a gift. Very simply, one gift to one fund, not figuring out what's uplift or upgrade. No. It's very simple. It's one thing that you give, one fund, all tied together. Everyone who thinks of this as their church family, whether they're 5 years old or 95 years old, has been thinking and reflecting about the service that they're offering to God. Thinking about that. If this is your formal church home or your informal church home, we want you to be thinking about how God is calling you. Because all of us have distracting voices, loud voices in our life that are calling us to other things and other places, fires that are burning that catch our attention and distract us. And so it's only appropriate that we come to a story that we haven't been reading. The climax of a movie that we have not seen. It might seem like a fantasy from 3,000 years ago. And here's the story. Picture this one in your mind. David. King David, mighty King David, at the end of 40 years of leading the people of Israel. This David, who is the favorite king of Judah, the legend of Israel, he is the one with a great legacy. And he does something that's unusual, something that's rare among leaders. He makes plans to hand things off. The hardest thing to do is to know when it's time to go. Leaders don't often know that, and yet David knows that God has chosen Solomon as the next king, his son. And he knows that it's time to hand things off. And you kind of expect someone to want to focus in on their legacy, to really focus on their image, maybe to build a glorious palace to themselves or put their name on a building or do some big thing that would put their image out there from others. And yet what David is doing is handing things off. I almost want you to close your eyes and see the room that we stumble into. David has gathered his leaders into a large back room. Leaders that respect him and admire him, that see him as their favorite. They know him. They've seen him. He was the shepherd boy. He was born in Bethlehem. He was honest, wouldn't take the life of the Lord's anointed. This was the guy. And so David looks around at his elite military forces. Not all of the forces, the leaders of the elite military forces, the special operative majors and generals, the heads of his royal stewards. He had a royal steward for everything, a royal steward over the vineyards, over the olive groves, over the sheep, over the cattle. And it's not all the workers, it's those leaders that he gathers together who are over all the cattle and the sheep. And he points to them, clustering them together. In 1 Chronicles 27 and 28, the first verse of each of those, he gathers those leaders to tell them what's going to happen next. And we kind of stumble into this room and we feel like, we're not supposed to be here. This is a hard moment of stepping down, of releasing control. And yet we see the strength of David, who is a powerful king and a phenomenal military leader who's out to do three things. He's out to crown the next king, which happens to be his son. And so maybe I'm kind of snicker in the back. Oh, yeah, sure, hand off the kingdom to your son. In America, we're not so big about handing it down, this generation of succession. We're not big on that. But yet that's what he's going to do. He's going to crown his son as king because God has chosen him. He's going to give the plans for the temple that's going to wear the name of Yahweh, the name of God. And he's going to tell the people what he's willing to do. As we stand there looking, he leads forward with God, that God has chosen Solomon. He's set Solomon apart. And he lets all of his leaders know. Whenever David is at his best, he's following God's lead. That's always the case with any of us. But the second thing that he does, standing there, Solomon probably close by, he says to those leaders, God's chosen him, and he's young. Solomon kind of, okay. He's inexperienced, okay. And this is a huge task that he's been given. Now, I don't know if at this point Solomon's brow kind of furrows, and he's like, Dad, come on. Inexperienced and young, give me a break. This is no softball that you're throwing me here. I don't know what Solomon is thinking in this moment. But then comes the so. 1 Chronicles 29, verse 2, the so. So, David says what he's going to do. I'm giving all of this to build a temple to the name of Yahweh. Not his name. No longer are we going to have a tent where we're roaming around. We're going to build a permanent place for the name of the Lord to be worshiped. Now, I know I told you a lot about David, that he's this powerful king. He's this amazing military leader. I forgot to mention one other thing as well. As he builds this temple to the name of Yahweh, he's an amazing worship leader, right? Able to gather the choir. He's able to unite the voices together. People will follow him into dancing in worship before God. Some guys just have it all, right? Handsome, military, brawn, leader of king, generational. He's got it all. And yet, maybe the most significant thing is that he's making this to the name of Yahweh, not to him. David knows that God is king. Not him, not his son. God is king. Now, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. It's kind of a back room. It's a big kind of conference center. They're all dressed in their military and royal best, and I'm just in my InterrUPt t-shirt. I just kind of feel like a stagehand or a prop, that somehow I've come in and I've interrupted things. Because he's got his leaders and he's showing them what he's willing to do, how he's willing to lead them. And you know what he tells them? Get this. All the gold, all the bronze, all the silver, all the precious metals, all the things for the temple, I've already made preparation. I'm giving them to Solomon. I'm giving them for this to take place. Wow. Not only does he hand over the throne willingly, but he gives all the treasury to him. That is astounding. And yet there I am, and I'm about to sneak out. Do you want to come with me? I mean, I'm kind of got you in this as well. I feel like I'm looking at something that I shouldn't see. Have any of you seen the David in Florence? Few people get the benefit of seeing this towering statue by Michelangelo of the David. And he's naked. He's young. He's virile. You can see everything. And I think, I should not be seeing this. I should not be taking a picture. I need to just slip out. I shouldn't see his gaze that's fixed and powerful and intimidating from the front. His gaze that from the side is a little more youthful and maybe a little more afraid. I shouldn't be here. I need to slip out. And then the verse comes in verse 6, where David says, moreover, I'm also giving from my own personal treasury. All the gold, all the silver, all the things that I have in my treasury. And at this point, I have to stop. I mean, I'm not surprised that he's handing it over to Solomon. I'm not surprised that he's giving all of the treasury of the gold. But then he talks about his own personal treasury. That's astounding. 3,000 talents of gold, 7,000 talents of silver. Wow, okay, I don't really know what a talent, I don't know what these things are. Brady, tell me what this is. Okay, so 3,000 talents is the equivalent of 200 tons of gold. I don't know if you checked the price of gold. I did. As it closed on Friday, $4,500. Now work that out for 200 tons. You know what it is? I'll tell you. I did the math. $29 billion out of David's personal, held back treasury. Something that is his. 7,000 of silver, well, that's 400 tons of silver. Silver closed on Friday just under $70 an ounce. And this is 400 tons. That's about another $1 billion. David says, from my own, I give $30 billion. Wow. Did he have to do that? No. I mean, is anybody going to ask him to do that from his personal treasury? No. They know he stuck his neck on the line from the time he was a very young person. They know this is a man of integrity. No one would have faulted him. So how's David able to do that? Because David has positioned God at the center of his life. God is the pentacle for David. It's just normal. There is no interruption for David. He's going to do whatever it is to serve God. There is no interruption. It's the obvious next operation for him to do. And he knew he was coming to the end of his life. He could hold on to power. He could hold on to control, not trust other people, but that's not what he does. He trusts God's choice. He trusts his son, and he trusts his leaders to follow. Man, I want to be like David. I mean, I'm nothing like David, nothing at all. But to understand, I don't have his money, but yet I have what I need. I have all I've ever needed. And then David does one more thing that's strange. After he talks about what he's willing to do, in verse 6, he says, who's next? Who's next? Who is willing to willingly consecrate and dedicate themselves to the Lord? That is astounding. And I'm looking at the David in flesh, and I can't leave the room because I hear the echoes of David's voice. I mean, many of you know that our family's had a major interruption, which has been my health, where my whole day, night and day, is interrupted and not what it needs to be. And I'm so thankful for modern medical technology to be where I am, to be able to function pretty normally. And yet, we've gone through 6 months of not knowing what all is going on, of not getting answers. And there are lots of expenses. Would anybody look at me and say, just cut back a little. It's fine. No worries there. Yeah, they would have said that. But I want you to know that this is a time when our family is not just tithing, but we're increasing our tithe, that we're giving more. And I want you to know that I'm the least. My medical issues are the least of the people in this room, in this church. I'm the least of the leaders of what's being given. And yet what I want you to know is the leaders who got together on March 11th, in a time like this, to hear David's words and to see his example echoing over the history, that group of leaders was willing to give 136% more than what they currently had been giving. That's huge. That's not just a little bump up. That's going from $20 a week to $47 a week. That's a huge jump because we as a group of leaders know that we go first. We may be least, but we're going to lead the way. We know that we need parents who are committed deep down into their soul of being followers of Jesus first. Parents that out of that commitment of following Jesus want their kids to follow Jesus. That's significant. Parents and people in this place to know that church, that the worship of God is to be center. That's a big, stunning thing. For church to be center of our lives. Not Fox News, not CNN, not what's happening in D.C., but God and the things of God being centered. Not the stadium down the road being center. Not the stadium in our home with crystal perfect display where we can go to any sporting event that we want. It's not the theater. This place is not a theater. Folks, we have to begin to think about ourselves. Is the world really going to be a better place by our next Amazon purchase? What we can make right now and get tonight by dinner time or maybe early in the morning, is it really going to be better? Or can we hear the call of David, who doesn't even know it, but he's following the King, Christ, as he points to his young, unexperienced son who's facing a huge task? We know that we too want to build our lives in the name of Yahweh. Any building goes away. The building is just a metaphor. It was for David. It's long since gone. It is for us today. The building is a focus because we have to make decisions. We have to look ourselves in the eye and say, is my budgeted time to spend money at the casino building a better place? Is it building a better world? Are the streaming services that I'm committed to, is that helping make my life better? Is my hobby that I'm so invested in, where so many pieces of equipment of that hobby are mothballed throughout the house and in the attic and in the garage, is that making life better? Just in the last week, I heard about a minister who went forward to his leaders and to his church to say that his entire family was addicted to gambling. This is not about ministers or non-ministers. This is about all of us and where our priorities are. And praise God that he was willing to make a step like that. But think about how our heart's allegiances are pulled away to easy money, away from what's centered, the worship of Yahweh. I want to invite all of us to stand. Stand for these ancient words that David said in 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 10. Then David blessed the Lord in the presence of all the assembly. And David said, "Blessed are you, O Lord, the God of our ancestor Israel, forever and ever. Yours, Lord, are the greatness, the power, the glory, the victory, and the majesty. For all that's in the heavens and all that's on the earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord. And you are exalted as head above all. Riches and honor come from you, and you rule over all. In your hand are power and might, and it is in your hand to make great and to give strength to all. And now, O our God, we give thanks to you, and we praise your glorious name. But who am I? And what is my people that we should be able to make this free will offering? For all things come from you, and are of your own hand. We're given from you. For we're aliens, we're transients before you, as were all of our ancestors. All of our days on earth are like a shadow, and there is no hope. O Lord God, this abundance, all of it that we've provided for this building, for you a house, for your holy name, comes from your hand and is all your own. I know, God, that you search the heart, that you take pleasure in uprightness, in the uprightness of my heart, and I have freely offered these things. And now I've seen your people who are present here, offering freely and joyously to you. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. I want to invite you to find your seat. And I want you to pull out that card. We're going to have some music playing in the background. We're going to do something that's very unusual, and that's have some time of silence where we can do three things. Think and pray and write. And what I want you to do during this time of silence is to think about what God's calling you to do. What is the sacrifice that God is wanting you to make? How is it that you're going to trust God like never before? I want you to pray about it. I want you to pray about what the blocks are. What are the things that make you resistant to what God's calling you to do? How God's begging you to serve, to lead, and yet you're uncertain about that. And then I want you to write. I want you to write clearly and neatly and boldly what God's calling you to do. There are lines on that commitment card of what you gave last year. That's the first line. And that might be a 0. No shame. Put it there. For anything going from 0 is a huge shift. We're not asking you to put $29 billion on the second line. But that's what you're willing to give in this next year, multiplied out by 2. And I want you to just spend time thinking about this, because there's a lot of things that we think about. I hear a lot of things. I give service. Great. Me too. I mean, I've given my whole life to service. Sometimes we calculate how much money we make per hour, and we think, if I give a certain amount of hours to God, then that counts as my tithe. Well, what if we tithed our time? Even just a 40-hour week, are we giving 4 hours, not just to show up at worship, but in service, committed to the advancement of what God's purposes are in the world? Are we hearing the call from Amanda for helping our kids be raised up in faith? Are we hearing the call from Bryce to be on one of our teams, to lead a small group, to be a part of worship? Or Noah, to be the next youth sponsor? What is it that God's calling us to do? Because David, in this back room that we've been feeling very uncomfortable, and we want to leave because we don't know if it's for us, is calling us not into a theater, but into a conference center, into a locker room, to be rallied to what God is doing in this world. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Think, pray, and write. Let this music and this silence be our time to think, pray, and write about what God's calling us to do. After that, I'll give you more instructions of how we're going to turn in these cards. But now, think, pray, and write.